What is up, love doves? Welcome back to the Barbarian Noetics podcast, where we stay dedicated to the elevation of the human spirit. I am, as always, your loyal host, Little Raven. And I'm coming at you from a moon day evening. I know it's been a long time, y'all. It's been a while. I want to thank everyone for your patience with me, the ebbs and flows of the creative process. But I am back in the saddle and I am putting an episode out. Want to start things off by just saying that I'm grateful to be here on this earth. I'm a beaten up bird right now, beaten up bird. I 2 weeks ago was hit by a drunk driver at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was driving home from errands. The gentleman was going the wrong way down a one-way, and he T-boned me directly into my driver's side door. Luckily, the side airbag functioned and the front airbag functioned. I had my seatbelt on, obviously, but I sustained serious injuries. I was in the hospital for 8 days, ICU for 2 days, 19 fractures and broken bones. So I am 13 cracked ribs alone. I mean, but, you know, luckily my head and my neck and my spine are okay. I did break my pelvis in 3 places, so that's a bummer. And so I'm recovering. I'm in recovery mode over here. And I just was compelled to finally put an episode out because it's just been way too long. But it was a very it was an experience. That's all I have to say is you don't come out quite the same after such an experience. I did not black out. I remained conscious the whole time, but I was hit so hard that my vision went white. So for like a while, I just saw white, and then people were like shadows. And I was having a hard time breathing because I also collapsed a lung. It's just like imagine like a Jeep slamming into you at like 50 miles an hour directly into your driver's side door. It's going to cause some problems for the body. So I'm kind of amazed that even though I'm very, very beat up, I'm amazed that I did not require surgery for any of the breaks. They were all like what's considered more stable breaks, where it just requires time and rest. So that's what I'm doing. I'm giving myself time and rest, watching so many movies and relaxing. And I initially was like, I'm just gonna continue taking a rest from the podcast, but I don't know. I just decided tonight that I'm able to record. My voice is working. I can record. I can relate the story real quick. But yeah, just a wild experience, and I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful for safety features. My 2008 Toyota has the safety features that protected me enough, and then guardian angels as well, and props to my body too for handling it, because like I said, I've never been hit so hard in my life, and when it happened, I was kind of thinking oh, this is it. This is the big one. This is gonna be the one that I'm, causes permanent damage. I was imagining just laying in bed for months and months, but luckily, like I said, even though there were 19 breaks and fractures, they were all stable. So it's just pain and time and rest. Pain and time and rest. And I do believe that pain is a teacher. And I believe that everything in life is a teacher. So I'm kind of absorbing the lessons of this. I genuinely forgive the gentleman who hit me, just because I don't have the bandwidth to be upset about it like that. I'm obviously upset about it, but I don't want to waste my time. It happened, right? So I guess what I'm struggling with more is why did it happen? It feels when something like that happens, it feels like a punishment or something. And I'm like, what did I do? Like I try to be nice to people. I try to be fair to people. But also I think that sometimes shit just happens, and it's just crazy because it's like 2 in the afternoon, and I just keep thinking like, man, if I had just been like 2 seconds later, earlier, like the timing of it, because he was going the wrong way, he was speeding the wrong way down a one way. So there was no like light for him. And I guess he didn't like realize that he was going the wrong way. And so then I just had a green light and I'm just going home, right? And I didn't even see it happen so fast. Like I didn't even see the Jeep. I just felt the impact, and the Jeep hit me so hard that it flipped. So like imagine that, like it hit the driver's side door directly so hard that it flipped a Jeep. So I took a Jeep to the torso basically, and still around to tell the tale. So combination of, well, no, really predominantly gratefulness. I feel very lucky to be alive and functional. And then also the pain is consistent and it's a struggle, and insurance is not helping. So I'm just kind of like coping as best I can with the help of, really good friends and family and everything like that. Like I do have a support network, so that's good. But that's the latest from me. So with that out of the way, I am also update for the show. I'm not going to be including music in the show for a while, for the foreseeable future, because I've received some emails from Spotify about the music, and I don't want to cause any problems. I want to make sure my show stays on the platforms. So I'm just going to be using no music for a while. So in case you're wondering, like, where are the beats in the background? They're not going to be beats in the background for a minute until I figure out, a way to do it that will not get me emails from Spotify. And that's going to take a little minute because I don't particularly want to like spend a bunch of money on that. So I know there are options, but I'm just focusing on getting my voice out, my content out, reaching listeners, because it's been way too long. And I do appreciate everyone's patience for staying subscribed and having faith in me, and continuing to listen through the ebbs and the flows. So I've recorded a couple segments that I'm going to include in this episode. They are heartfelt reflections on what is currently going on in our country, in the United States, around the issue of migration and human rights, and treating people right and having compassion for people. And I will always maintain that, and it is my right to express my opinion. The Bill of Rights gives me the right to petition my government for grievances, and I believe that migration is a human right, and I believe that migration is a beautiful thing, and I believe that nations are built upon migration. And I have so much love and respect for Latin American culture, for Mexican culture. I've had just all positive experiences with Latinos. When my parents died, it was particularly the Mexican American community that really like carried me through that. And even like the people that I dealt with like the bureaucracy after my father died, like especially it was Latinos and Latinas that like showed me the most compassion and understood that I was like really going through something at that time, and so actually helped me with the bureaucracy. Anyway, my appreciation for the culture goes really deep, and I think we have so much to learn from the culture, and that's just how I feel in my heart. That's never going to change. And so I, like so many others, am in a state of like grief and shock for the treatment that is happening at the hands of ICE and the authorities to our brothers and sisters who are here just doing their very best to make a living, working very hard, being good people, and are being targeted unfairly and tragically. So Yep. So I speak freely on that topic, and that's going to be like the bulk of this episode. But would have been remiss if I didn't give you guys an update on like my situation, because I am officially a beat up bird over here. Beat up bird. But I am getting better every day. It's going to be a process, 6, 8, 10 weeks. I don't know. The pelvis, I guess, is like more complicated, takes a lot of time. My lung is better now. I can breathe pretty good. My ribs are healing. Everything hurts, but I can like at least get out of bed now. I'd rather like deal with pain than like not being able to get out of bed. So that's good. And then I broke my left scapula, which is consistently surprises me with like how intense that is, because I just try to like, I'm trying to do my own physical therapy and stuff, and my scapula is always like, nah, dog, you ain't ready for that. So yeah, but like I said, I'm only 2 weeks out. Give me another 4, 6, 8 weeks, and I think I'll be in much better shape. So thankful to be here, happy to share some thoughts with you all, and grateful to all the listeners and the loyal supporters out there of the Barbarian Noetics podcast. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and play these thoughts. Migration is a human right. Rise up, Rasa. Peace.
¡Viva México, cabrones!
Yo, what's up, love doves? The name of this segment is Migration is Still a Human Right. It will always be a human right, and that's just how it is. I am sick and tired and angry at the amount of xenophobia and racism and anti-immigrant sentiment that is pervasive, but I will say this, it's definitely not everyone, and I don't know if it's necessarily, I live in the city among diversity. So in my experience, it's definitely not the majority, but I don't live in like an all white suburb somewhere where maybe that sentiment is the majority. But it's good to remember that it's certainly not everyone. There's a lot of people of all different ethnicities that are down with migration, understand that migration is a positive thing. Migration is what builds nations. It's what builds countries. It disgusts me some of the rhetoric and the sentiments that especially get exuded on like the more right-wing media, like Fox News, which is essentially Nazi news at this point. Fox News is Nazi news. Let's get real. It's just Nazi fucking news. And then, as Malcolm X said, the conservatives are the wolf, but the liberals are the fox. So there's a lot of like low-key liberals love to like put up a Black Lives Matter sign in their yard, but then they don't want to talk about institutional racism. They want to pretend like racism is like a thing of the past. That's total fucking bullshit. And, I don't experience it because I'm a white boy, but I see it amongst my friends and the people that I call my family and the people that are most important to me, the ways in which society is racist, essentially. But this is not a segment about racism, this segment about migration. Everything that the haters spread about migration is bullshit. So number one, that on Nazi news, they're always talking about undocumented people committing crimes. That's bullshit. Undocumented people commit less crimes than documented people. And it makes sense because they're already skating on thin ice. So if you're an undocumented person, why are you going to go commit a bunch of crimes and put yourself at risk of being deported? The best thing for me in my life, the best thing about it has been undocumented people. And I've learned so much about from the different cultures, and I'm thankful for the different cultures. It's made me a better person. And I'm putting this out there just to like, put it out there and speak my mind. I know I've talked about this before, but it's so salient in our society. And just to encourage people to like open their minds, even if they feel different, even if you're hate listening or whatever, just open your mind to these ideas. Think about the fact that the media lies to you. Another thing that Malcolm X said. Malcolm X warned us all this shit. He warned us. And I recently just learned that the autobiography of Malcolm X was actually edited by the FBI. I didn't know that. So imagine that. They fucking kill him and take him away from us so that we no longer have his insights and wisdom. And then they fucking edit his thoughts after his death. That is so evil. Like, you have to respect people when they pass away. That's like, in my mind, that shows me who you are as a society. How do you treat your deceased? Are you respectful? Editing someone's thoughts just because you're afraid of them, you find it threatening, is so fucking cowardly and fucked. So you have to go to like Malcolm X scholars. And how I learned is I heard a podcast by a scholar on Malcolm X. And I don't remember his name right now, but I'll put it in the note description so you guys can check him out and learn from him. The reason why the system was so afraid of Malcolm X is that he was a revolutionary. Well, many, many reasons why. Because he was so eloquent and he had a way of communicating with people on a mass scale. He had a way of bringing people together. The system gets so scared of that shit. But he was a revolutionary. He was saying, we're not going to vote our way out of this because it's a two-party. I don't think he said two-party duopoly, but he was talking about the two-party duopoly. And in a way, he was talking about it with the wolf and the fox analogy. That, sure, conservatives are wolves, but the liberals are foxes. So in a way, the fox is even more dangerous. And that's what he thought too. So I'm not trying to hate out there for my liberal listeners, which bless you all. I'm not trying to hate. I'm just trying to incite some like thought about it, you know? Like, first off, I wouldn't be a liberal if I were you. I would think about like, why are you so afraid of redistribution of wealth? Is it because you don't want to lose what you have? That's pretty weak. But certainly don't be putting up a Black Lives Matter sign in your yard and then not be denying institutional racism. That's like, in a way, that's like one of the most important things. And I feel like kind of an asshole right now because like as a white boy trying to talk about this shit, but like it's partly like what I've learned from people like Malcolm X, that one of the most dangerous things is to pretend to be an ally to marginalized communities and minorities. But in reality, you're not, because you're not acknowledging the most insidious and the most damaging aspect of racism in my mind, which is that institutional racism, because that's the shit that is like all pervasive, so it's harder to identify. So it's the whole thing like with the CIA running advertisements about how like, you know, neurodivergent Latinas can be agents of coup d'etats in foreign countries. Like, that shit's twisted. If you want to do that, that's fine, but do it with clear eyes. Do it knowing like, okay, I'm gonna be an agent of coup d'etats in foreign countries. Maybe that's how you feel. Some people do feel that way, but like, know that. Don't just think like, oh, this they're being all like diverse now, so like this is a home for me. No, they want to use you. They want to use you to like achieve these nefarious ends. That's why they're advertising to you. So the number one thing, well, not number one, but just the one piece of bullshit that undocumented people are dangerous criminals is bullshit. Total bullshit. Of course, every community has like psychos, but I'm telling you that undocumented people commit less crimes than documented people. So don't be coming with that. And then number two is the whole thing that undocumented people are like a drain on society. Now, I want to acknowledge the feelings that some people have, and some people even have experience with like, well, I was working in this industry and then the corporation that hired me hired a bunch of undocumented people and it drove down the wages because the undocumented people would work for less. That does suck, but that's not the undocumented people's fault. That's predatory capitalism and the corporations being greedy pricks. So don't be blaming people that are coming to find a better life and contribute to society. Look at the root of the problem, not the people that are just trying to make it. And, you know, we should give undocumented people more rights. Like, and this does get controversial, and I do understand like the logic when people say like, whoa, if you don't have borders and you don't have a country, great. To me, that's great. Like, this whole idea of nationalism where you're just born somewhere and so therefore that's like gives you certain privileges because of where you were born. That doesn't make any sense, and that's very selfish if you get born in a superpower that exploits other places like the United States. So you're born in an exploitative place, so therefore you should just lean into the exploitation? No. And of course, there would have to be like some sort of, you can't just have everybody moving to one place all at once. But I do not believe that that would happen, because when the border was a little more fluid, it was always a fucking border. But when there was a little more exchange, because there was an understanding that people would come to work to make money, and then they would go back to their homes, because people want to be in their homes. They want to be near their cousins and their friends. They don't just want to like come to a place and then get trapped there. And that's what happens with the border being psycho, is when undocumented people do come here, then they can't leave. So they must stay. If it's more fluid exchange, then people can work for a bit and then go back, work for a bit and then go back. So, another point is, if you legislate that people have to be paid a minimum wage no matter what, whether they have documents or not, then this whole thing of driving down wages is moot. It's bullshit. What pisses me off so much is the disrespect for undocumented people, when at the same time undocumented people are doing jobs that most Americans would not want to do. How many of y'all want to work in a slaughterhouse, fucking slaughtering chickens all day for like 12 hours a day? I mean, I personally don't want to do that, and I do eat chicken, and I always like before I eat the chicken, I thank the chicken first off for giving its energy so I can have my energy. And secondly, I thank the people that slaughtered the chicken and processed the chicken, because that's like intense, difficult work that, I'm not trying to say like I wouldn't do it, because if there was a situation where I had to slaughter a chicken, I'd slaughter a chicken, but I certainly don't want to do it, and certainly not for 12 hours a day. And there's no reason why some people just have to do that because that's their only option, because they're undocumented. That's fucked up. And if they are doing that, they should be paid a fair wage at the very fucking least. So, but since in this reality that we live in, with the psycho border and the xenophobia and the fucking white supremacist fucking government, the people who do most of the slaughtering at slaughterhouses, they tend to be undocumented. And then on top of all that, they don't even get like the respect and the gratitude. So these people deserve respect and gratitude at the very fucking least. And really, ideally, people would think like, oh, awesome. Like these are people from a different place. They have different perspectives. I'm interested to hear these perspectives. Like what do they think about organizing society and living life? What do they think about this? What do they think about that? It's not just like, oh, there's this different culture. I'm gonna consume it. I'm gonna consume the culture. I'm gonna wear the fucking fashion and claim it for myself. Fucking, what is it called? Cult assimilation or whatever. I'm gonna assimilate the fashion. I'm gonna eat the food and just equate, Mexican people with Mexican food. Just be like, oh, yeah, that happens to me all the time when I talk from my heart about how much I love Mexico and how much I enjoy visiting and how much I've learned from Mexican culture. Then people say like, oh yeah, it's so hard to find good tacos here. It's like, yeah, there's amazing tacos in Mexico, but that's just like one aspect. I don't want to say one small aspect, because the cuisine is an important part of the culture, and they do have like fucking amazing cuisine, but it's just one aspect. There's a whole other like mindset and way of seeing the world. A couple more things I want to touch on is the fact that if our government did not just psychotically focus on keeping other governments weak, other countries around the world weak, assassinating leaders, banning unions in countries that are achieving socialism or trying to achieve a different economic program, doing dirty wars, doing like covert operations to like destabilize, doing fucking media brainwashing. That's like a big thing. Like the US has like all these like radio stations all over the world where they do like pro-capitalist propaganda. If capitalism is so great, then it should stand up for itself on its own merits. It shouldn't have to be covertly pressed on everybody. And if a country wants to go socialist, who the fuck cares? You can still trade with them. You don't have to be a fucking serial killer psycho and assassinate their leaders and do violent destabilization campaigns. Which, like, if y'all haven't looked at Operation Condor in South America, that was this whole fucking thing. And it was really nasty. And that's only one example. The things that the government did in Central America, especially Nicaragua and El Salvador in the 80s, I maintain are some of the worst, most atrocious war crimes that I've ever learned about. It's like so difficult to read, even like what happened. And this is all just to like destabilize and make sure that countries don't, really it's about sovereignty. It's about, they don't want other countries to have sovereignty because they want the hegemony of the predatory capitalism, because that way the Western elites can extract value from these other, it's literally blood sucking on a mass scale. It's so Western elites can suck blood on a mass scale. So if we were more, if we focused on trade and diplomacy more than destabilization campaigns, dirty wars, assassinations, and creepy shit, then there would be less of a migration crisis, A. So if you're so upset about migrants for whatever fucking reason, then look at the source. Don't look at the, I don't even want to say symptom, because I don't think there's anything wrong with migration. I understand that now this is my opinion, but it's my very strong opinion, because this is another point. You literally don't have a nation. Also, if you're so into nations and borders, you don't have it without migration. Every nation is built on some level on migration, except with the exception being indigenous nations. However, I believe most nations in the world these days are products of migration of different types. And certainly the US is fucking mostly all migration, except again for the indigenous nations that thankfully are still present and thankfully are still strong. My dad, God bless his soul, every time we drive together through the reservation, the Gila River res, on the way to see my sister, he'd always say like, God bless the Native Americans. And the reason why he said that is because it wasn't just all strip malls and chain stores. When you drive through the res, it's like nature. They went a different way. And I agree with my dad, like thank God for them. Thank God for Native Americans. Anyway, nations are built on migration. The US is built on migration. So without migration, you don't even have a country. And why is it that like only white people or one type of people are allowed to migrate? That's boring and lame, A, because if you just have all homogenous society, that's like no fun, you know? Like it's no fun and it's boring and it's stupid. Diversity is way more zesty and it's also way more healthy. I know I've said this a million times, but nature loves diversity, and so it is the same for societies. Societies thrive in diversity. This is like a little bit of a philosophical digression, but I believe, my personal philosophy is that privilege is meant to be shared. It is not meant to be hoarded. And that is a moral value. If you find yourself with privilege, why not share some of the privilege? I'm not saying just like give until you give the shirt off your back and then you're like on the street. But like if you have a ton of privilege, you can share some privilege. And the more individual people kind of adopt that mentality, then the more as a society, as like a mass, massive, I want to say mass consciousness or massive humans, we can adopt that mentality where like, yeah, maybe it's okay to redistribute a little bit of wealth. Maybe it's not okay for like a tiny handful, the 0.01% of these billionaire psychos to have like this insane percentage of all the wealth, and then to not even put it back into society to help build the bridges and the infrastructure and update our electrical grid, and maybe have like the fast trains like they have in other places like China. We don't even have fast trains here. That's some bullshit. We should have bullet trains. Why do you always have to fly to go long distances? They got bullet trains lots of places now. We could build them here, but there's no money for it because all the money is being A, sucked up by elites and stashed in the Cayman Islands, and B, used to go directly to the war machine and the covert destabilization campaigns. It's like the inversion of what would be good to happen, where like resources were used to make society better. No, let's use all the resources to wage endless wars. And the thing about waging endless wars is it blows back to the society that wages the endless wars. You can't just be like this warlike psycho around the world and then expect your society to be a bowl of confetti. it's going to come back. You're going to have not just, and I'm not just talking about like the violence that does occur, including like the mass shootings and the, even just like shooting, individual shootings that happen, but also like the mentality. The mentality, I see it all around me in our society, is very acquisitive and honestly violent, and way too few people with privilege acknowledge the insidious role of institutional racism and ways in which communities are like intentionally kept down. And there's a lot of talk about apartheid these days for obvious reasons, but like every American city is kind of apartheid-esque, because you have, from the historical redlining, you still have, and I know that doesn't exist necessarily anymore, but you still have like across certain boundaries of every city. If there's a city not like this, tell me, but I've never seen a city like this. Every city I've lived has been hella segregated, and the segregation is, it's about income, where the higher income people and communities are gentrified and given all these resources. People say like, well, because they pay taxes. Well, you need to give people a chance to like improve before they can quote unquote pay taxes. And then the lower income communities, which typically is mostly marginalized communities, which I personally prefer to live in, the low income communities, because it's less pretentious, and I hate pretense. So I prefer to live in low income neighborhoods because it's less pretentious. People are all low income, so your neighbors are low income, you're low income, and you're kind of all in this boat together. And I find that I'm not romanticizing like the issues that inner cities do have, certainly not romanticizing the houselessness, but like even people, there's no reason to be afraid of houseless people. They're just people who don't have a house. Houseless people are, most of the time, in my experience, lovely people. And sometimes they have mental health issues, which is exacerbated by the houselessness. But what are we, prejudicial against people with mental health issues now? I mean, what the fuck? And that's the whole thing about the fox versus the wolf. The wolf is like, well, fuck those people. They don't work hard enough, so fuck them. The fox is like, oh yeah, no, we have to like give to charities for the houseless people, and then they go to their church and they give the charity and they pat themselves on the back because they're so virtuous, and they talk amongst each other like, oh, it's so wonderful how virtuous we are. But then at the same time, they're like afraid of houseless people. They're like kind of afraid of the inner city, and that just exacerbates the urban apartheid thing. And I don't mean to offend by kind of using, I don't want to like conflate two ideas and thus minimize like apartheid, but it is, in my mind, it's a form. I mean, it's just what it really boils down to is intense segregation along income lines, which is gross. And like everyone who's all religious, I'm not going to pick on one religion or another religion, but there's like a ton of religious people in the US. And isn't that like against your religion to like prejudice against people because they don't have money or as much money as you? You're supposed to like love your neighbor. Well, that includes the community 5 miles south that doesn't have any resources because the city planners are probably white supremacists. A lot of the city planners are, they might be the wolf variety or they might be the fox variety, but they're perpetuating the system. And since marginalized people typically inhabit a lot of like inner cities, that's an example of institutional racism. All right, so this might be a little bit apropos of nothing, but something else I've been wanting to discuss or just kind of think about out loud, because I think maybe listeners might resonate, is this idea that when I'm like out in the world, I do not expect people to respect me. That is not an automatic expectation. It's nice when people are respectful, because then that's like proactively gives you a chance to be respectful back. But I don't expect it necessarily, because people have all sorts of stuff going on in their own lives and they have biases. Some people might see like a white boy and be like, I don't feel like respecting, and I don't have an issue with that, because I feel like you have to show that you are someone who is to be respected. What I have an issue with is then if someone is like feeling me out, kind of maybe sus, and then I make an effort to show respect, and then they still are disrespectful, then it's like, okay, well, fuck you then. But I don't just like automatically expect respect. And I think that we might have like a more cohesive, harmonious society if more people operated in that way, where rather than immediately taking offense, because here's the other thing about respect is perceived often. Like a lot of interactions are quick and subjective. So the person might not even be meaning to be disrespectful. It might just be perceived as disrespectful. So I think it's important to show that respect, and then you can see what's up with the person. Does that make sense? So like, if I'm getting strange vibes from someone, then I'm going to still be respectful to them because I don't know. It's not clear. I might just be perceiving it. And then oftentimes when you show respect, it inspires respectfulness in the other. And then if they're still disrespectful to you, then you know that they're just going to disrespect you. And then it becomes a self-respect thing, not to just like bend over and be like, I don't know what the best word to use in this scenario, because I think cuck is like overused because some people are into that, and I'm not trying to like judge. And obviously pussy is stupid because pussies are tough as fuck. Like pussies are way tougher than fucking men's junk. Let's be real. Like imagine trying to fuck like a pair of balls. The man would be like screaming in pain. And also I know some people are into that too, and respect. Like if you can handle that pain of like having your balls fucked, like then I tip my hat to you. If someone tried to fuck my balls, I would be like keeled over and like whimpering, because balls are just not inherent. They're not tough. Let's be real. Balls are not tough. So like really we should be using the term balls. Okay, so I'm going to try to do that. So if someone's giving me weird vibes and then I show respect and then they're still disrespectful for me, it would be balls of me. It would be weak of me to then like continue to be like, oh, please respect me. Because like at the end of the day, this is like a tricky thing, because I don't think I want to like lean into this whole thing of like, I don't give a fuck, but also I don't give a fuck. I don't know how else to say that. It's like what Bruce Lee said. It's like active inaction, how everything is a paradox. You have to like give a fuck, not give a fuck. Or at least that's how I feel like best, when I give a fuck, not give a fuck type thing. But anyways, yeah, it came to me on my way home from the gym tonight about like how the expectation of respect from everyone is it honestly is like a very like privileged and entitled mentality. So show that respect, and then you can see where someone's at. Are they just going to disrespect you? Then you know. But oftentimes, when you show respect, people are respectful back. And I know I've spoken a lot about why I like loved being in Mexico so much, and why I love being in Mexico whenever I get a chance to go, is my experience in Mexico is the respect baseline. That I'm thinking back, and like literally every interaction I've had in Mexico has been, sometimes there's the initial like sus, like who the fuck are you? But then when I show respect, people are respectful back. And I think that's a really like a productive and harmonious way to operate a society, because we the people, like no one's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves, and I don't see any way of saving ourselves if we're all just a bunch of like individual nodes that just like feel like we don't need nobody else. See, that's the thing. I don't give a fuck giving a fuck is not like you don't need anybody else, because I think you do need, humans do need community. I do believe that. I believe that humans are inherently social creatures, and I don't feel like we thrive when we're just individual nodes that walk around being like, I don't need anyone, you know, because that in a way is a bit disrespectful off the bat. And then if you have that mentality, even if someone tries to show you respect, you'll be like, fuck you, I don't need your respect, you know? But I think most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, we really do appreciate when people show us respect. I know for me, I have a deep appreciation for that. And something else I was thinking about is like the fact that okay, I don't want this to be perceived as like a crutch, or that I'm like, I don't know. But basically, I've come to terms with the fact that I like legit do have some kind of way social anxiety, but it comes in like random times, and it depends a lot on like what's going on in my life. You know, am I struggling with things? Is there interpersonal drama happening? And sometimes I'll just get like fairly crippling social anxiety where I just feel like so fucking out of place. Like no matter where I'm at, I can be with like the most like friendly, outgoing people, and I'm just like feeling completely awkward and out of place. And for me, like the remedy for that is showing that respect. And like sometimes I almost just want to like make the announcement like, hey, I have occasional panic attacks. So if like if you perceive me as acting like a complete hermit and like silent and awkward, it might be because I'm having like a legit panic attack, and I'm doing the best I can to like manage the panic attack. You know, when panic attacks happen when you're alone, it's like, okay, put on some binaural beats, maybe smoke a little weed. I mean, maybe not if you're someone that gets paranoid on weed, but if I smoke just like a little bit of weed, put on some nice music, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It's been hard to meditate lately, but I'm making an effort, and I'm taking my own advice with it. And I'm like, even if I just meditate for like 2 minutes is better than 0 minutes. So if I can just meditate for 2 minutes and then build up, I've had chapters in my life where I'm easily able to like flow into like these deep meditations and sit, for a long time where I lose track of time and stuff. That's been hard for me lately for whatever reason. And, but I still make an effort. Anyways, I think that's another thing to like have compassion for. Like if you say you're like perceiving someone as like, God, why are they so fucking awkward? Maybe that person has like legit anxiety and they're doing the best they can to manage it, And I've really tried like so many things to manage it. And for me, it's like, I've just decided to like face it head on. That's just how I've personally decided to like, by face it, I mean like accept it. And that's part of accepting it is like admitting it. So admitting it and accepting it. Because I've tried the psychiatrist and the pharmaceuticals, and it honestly didn't help. I think it did help for a little bit, but then it didn't, because my theory is that the body builds up tolerances to things. And then I started thinking like, what are actually in these pills? Like, where do they get manufactured? Like, and it freaked me out. So and then I'm also not like a saint over here. I have vices that I don't drink anymore for sure, but I have vices sometimes that I try to use to like manage it, which, not ideal. But that's the thing is everyone is doing the best they can. That's something really important to remember, that everyone is doing the best that they can, and your best is different at different times. I've seen that in my life so hardcore, where sometimes my best like fucking sucks. And sometimes my best is like, I'm proud of it. So then I use those times when I feel proud of my best as like North Stars to guide me. And like your inner voice is always there. It is always there. Even when you repress it so hard, it is always there. And like, but I don't believe in being like dogmatic, like I'm not an institutional religion person. I believe that there's lots of wisdom to be gleaned from certain things about religions sometimes, but I'm not like a dogmatic institutional religion person where it's like you just like load yourself up with guilt and shame because, for example, your best sucks for a while. Maybe your best sucks because you're dealing with like some shit, you know, some shit in your personal life, some shit in societal situations, depression, anxiety, like that's real as fuck and it affects how you can be your best. But I feel as though if we can remember that everyone is actually doing the best they can, it'll help us to have compassion. And again, I'm not someone that is all about just like turning the other cheek and letting people walk all over you. I hate that, and I don't think it's healthy. And my like constitution just doesn't let me do that. When I start to like sacrifice my self-respect is when shit gets like really bad for me mentally. So I'm not saying like don't fucking speak your mind and stand up for yourself and be who you are, while also remembering that people are doing the best that they can. And honestly, speaking your mind and standing up for yourself, I think is positive because it's like kind of is an example maybe, you know? Someone's shitty to you and you just like take it, then they're going to be shitty to everyone else. They're going to keep being shitty. If you speak your mind, speak up, and you don't accept that and you show that that's unacceptable, then there's at least a chance that the person might reflect on that. And something about life that I've noticed is like oftentimes, people don't reflect on things right away. Like I've had people tell me things that have been like really hard to hear. And usually my initial reaction is like deny it or, you know, who the fuck are you to say that? But if it resonates on any level with you, because again, you got that like conscience that's there always, then it could be like sometimes years down the line. But you think back and you're like, shit, I see what that person was saying. And they had a point. And it doesn't mean that you have to romanticize people because, you know, people are difficult and like they might have told it to you in a way that was like kind of fucked up. So you can still acknowledge that like, yeah, that person was kind of an asshole, but I do see like the point there. Some people are just trying to tear you down to make themselves feel better, like narcissists and stuff. So fuck them. That's toxic, not the good toxic, or I should say not the fun toxic. That's just the bad toxic. Anyways, I think I've said all I need to say about this topic. I know it has very little to do with the last topic, but I am just putting out thoughts because I can. Much love, everybody. Peace. Alrighty, friends, we have reached the end of the episode. Normally, I would put in an outro track, but like I said, I'm going to take it easy on the music for a while just to make sure my podcast stays accessible to everybody. And so I'm going to try something new tonight. I'm going to attempt to sing a cappella. And the song I chose to attempt to sing is Baltimore by the great Nina Simone. I may just kind of turn it into a poem, but I am going to try my best to give it a shot. And I recommend everyone actually go listen to the actual song because it's just all-time great. Nina Simone, one of a kind. So this is it's like an honor of her that I'm trying to do this. And don't make fun of me. Okay, here we go. And I'm not even gonna put the beat in the background, so this is pure a cappella. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. Beat up little seagull on a marble stair, trying to find the ocean, looking everywhere. Hard times in the city, in a hard town by the sea. Ain't nowhere to run to, there ain't nothing here for free. Hooker on the corner, waiting for a train. Drunk lying on the sidewalk, sleeping in the rain. and the people hide their faces, and they hide their eyes, 'cause the city's dying, and they don't know why. Oh, Baltimore, ain't it hard just to live? Oh, Baltimore, ain't it hard just to live, just to live? Get my sister Sandy and my little brother Ray. Buy a big old wagon to haul us all away. Live out in the country where the mountains high. Never gonna come back here till the day I die. Oh, Baltimore, ain't it hard just to live? Oh, Baltimore, ain't it hard just to live, just to live?